Hi, and welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with CarWow, the online car-changing destination. Together, we share tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your department, dealership, or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bokert, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, I'm joined with Stuart Wallbanks, and we have to have this conversation because we're just talking about in dealerships, you get an email inquiry that comes through now saying, hey, can you tell me, is the car available? If so, what's your best price? And the phone number is 012 345 678. You think, how do I get hold of that customer? Or a customer says, can you just give me an idea what my car's worth? I won't hold you to it, just a ballpark figure. Now, we know as salespeople, we want to go from that digital inquiry to speak to the customer. So start building rapport. We know we want to get them face to face in the dealership. But Stuart and I were talking about how more and more customers now are not giving us that phone number. They don't want to speak to us because you've got to remember, if customers wanted to speak to us, Stuart, what would they have done?
Picked up the phone. It's not rocket science.
They spoke to us. So we almost need to earn the right to go from a digital inquiry to that telephone inquiry. So Stuart, I just want to kick around some of the word tracks that you've been talking about that might work to get a customer to go from that digital inquiry to that phone inquiry, because that's where we can build rapport. Stuart, isn't it hard to build rapport on a digital inquiry with a customer, or harder?
Very difficult. We know in terms of communication, it's 55% body language, 38% tone. And on an email, we kind of lose all of that. We certainly lose the body language and we lose the tone. I think that's why emojis were probably created.
Of course. Yeah.
Because that kind of replaces the tone, doesn't it? Now, we wouldn't be using emojis in an email with a customer. So if all we've got is the 7% words, the job becomes really difficult.
Yeah, it does. So, okay, I'm going to throw this at you. We're going to kick around some of the different ideas you may or may not use, okay? And you've got to make sure they're right and they sound like you, because I believe that firstly, it has to be personalized on a digital inquiry. I don't subscribe to these canned approaches where everyone gets the same email all the time. If you're a manager, a dealer principal, and you've decided, my salespeople's, their language is not good, their grammar's not good, so I'm going to write the emails on how to deal with it. I'd strongly recommend you to change that approach, because if a customer's sending you one email, they haven't just sent it to you. They've sent it on average to 6 other Toyota dealers. Okay. And if you're all saying exactly the same thing because you've got one of these systems, customer's going to smell a rat and it's going to feel like a canned approach. It needs to be personalized. So Stuart, customer turns around and says, hey, listen, can you tell me, is that car available? And if so, what's your best price? Now, is the car available? That's a straightforward yes or no. Okay. But on a digital inquiry, they say, what's your best price? How can you deal with that digital inquiry? How can we get someone to go from the digital inquiry to that phone call?
I'd focus on the part exchange to start with. So we know that a huge, it's sort of around about 90% of customers have a vehicle that they're at least considering part exchanging, or the number may even be a bit higher now.
I did hear in the Irish market, I don't know other markets, they heard that was 89% of people in a franchise dealership have got a car then considering trading in.
Yeah. So the stats are more than 9 out of 10 customers on average have got a vehicle they may consider part exchanging. I like those words, that you might consider part exchanging, as opposed to, do you have a part exchange? I'm getting off topic slightly, but I think it's important. The 1 in 10 is probably doing something with that car, right? So they could be selling it privately, could be weaveanycar.com, could be selling it to a mate at work, they could be giving it to their son or daughter. But curiosity, they'd probably like to know if what they've sold it for or agreed is a fair price. So this idea of, have you got a vehicle you might consider part exchanging, or would you like to know what we would offer for your car? Just plays upon curiosity. Well, back to answer your question, what's your best price? We could use one of the word tracks we train frequently. The best price will be the lowest amount of money that comes out of your pocket. To find out what the lowest amount of money is, all we need to do is look at the vehicle that you might consider part exchanging. I'll do a professional appraisal. I can find its current market value, and then I can get you the very best price to change. When's a good time for you to pop down and see me to see your so I can view your car? That's if we're trying to go straight to the appointment. If we want to go straight to the phone call, when are you available for us to have a conversation where you can give me some more details about your car? Maybe how you could sort of slow it down a little bit.
I also love the, hey, Mr. Customer, getting the figures right here is the easiest part of my job. And tell them why. Because in the internet world, if we're not on the front page of Auto Trader or CarZone, carsales.com, okay, we just don't get the inquiry. But you know what? Unless that car, it's exactly right for you, no price is going to be good enough. So listen, when's a good time? This might be on the phone. So when's a good time for us to get together to make sure that car is exactly right for you? Is that through the week or maybe a weekend? It's
Yeah,
almost fighting for it then, isn't it? Okay.
you're right. The Just going back to where we started, customers that email in. When we ask the question in our sort of classroom training, if you like, why would a customer email? There's always a lot more answers than people ever suspected. So it's they're nervous, maybe they've had a previous bad experience. It could be convenience because of personal life or work. They could be analytical, or the blue or the snake, as we call them.
Yeah.
So around about a quarter of the population will absolutely want to start their journey online because they like a record of what we've agreed. And then there's no ambiguity at any point. There's no he said, she said. Um, Here's one I bet most of the listeners have never thought of. And I only became aware of this when I was in my teens. There was a girl that I really fancied, and I've never been good at talking to girls ever, which is odd given the job that I do for a living.
Listeners, don't you believe that for an instant. Okay.
um, this particular girl, her mum taught sign language. And Lisa, the girl involved, she was a translator and she was involved in those classes. So I enrolled in sign language classes. Genuinely, 2 years later, I'm a fully qualified translator for the deaf. So that's commitment for you. And I got a date.
You got a date. I got a
Uh,
date.
but all of a sudden, I become involved with the deaf community. And you've got no idea how big that population is because it isn't very often you see someone that's totally deaf from birth, or you're seeing sign language being used.
Mm,
But that's because the majority of people who are hard of hearing are experts in lip reading.
mm,
Um, and so they need to be face to face. Now they're going to start their inquiry online because they can't pick up the phone and talk to you because they can't read your lips. So I guess the first thing I want to say is if I said to someone, right, you've got a showroom walk-in and a inquiry on a used car, you can only take one or the other, and you can't pick up the phone and say, I'll phone you back. Which would you rather take? The
great
answer is
question.
always the walk-in. And I get that. Now we know, as we've said in other podcasts, when a customer walks into the business, they're there to buy a car until they say no and mean no. But there is still that rare occasion where we do get Bob who's popped in because his wife's at the supermarket over the road. Well, that sounds a little bit sexist,
Mm.
but you get the point. Never does anyone phone in to kill time.
Yeah, I'm bored. What
Quite
are we going
often,
to do?
phone
Yeah.
inquiry is almost more uh, genuine or exciting than the walk-in inquiry. But when I say right, you've got a phone call and you've got an email inquiry, which would you rather take? It's always the phone call, and I understand, and I would do the same. But I guess what we've done there by a process of elimination is agreed that an email inquiry is the least exciting, and almost by default it gets the least of our attention or the least effort. And it's almost, well, if you're really interested, you're going to speak to me on the phone. And we're right in what we're saying. We absolutely want to elevate the inquiry to an appointment, and that might be through the channel of a phone call first. But what I want the listeners to really think about is every email inquiry should be treated like a golden opportunity because
Yeah.
there could be a valid reason why they've started with an email and not picked up the phone.
Oh, Stuart, even simply, they might be under 25. I have a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I promise you, they don't want to speak to any company. They
Mm.
like, if there's not a live chat, where do I speak to people? What do you mean I can't type out what I want there? That's where um, the world is changing, isn't it? It's changed
Yeah.
there. It really
So
is.
if we use one of the word tracks that we've just talked about in moving that inquiry to the telephone, and there seems to be a little bit of resistance, that doesn't make them, I hate this term, messers.
No,
You,
exactly.
you hear that, oh, it's just a messer. Why? What have you seen or read, or what have you interpreted that you are absolutely certain that this customer has got nothing better to do with their time than send you an inquiry when they have got no interest in buying a car? Messes don't exist on a digital inquiry.
So I'm going off track here. You're right. You and I, our phones are off because of what we do all the time.
Mm.
There's a company trying to sell me some stuff at the moment. I want to buy it. And this lady leaves a message all the time when the phone's off. And the message is always like, hi, it's Sarah from blah, blah, blah. Okay, I've missed you again. Give me a call on blah, 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 blah. She spits the number out very quickly. Okay, she always phones from a number withheld number. Okay, so I try and phone back in our lunch break or afterwards or when I finish the course at the end of the day. Of course, she's gone home. She thinks I'm a messer. The messages end up being like, well, if you don't want it, let me know. That's fine. She thinks I'm a messer and I want to give this company some money. I want their services. But
Yeah,
actually, I'm almost certain, like a lot of car salespeople, they think I'm a messer because if she just sends me a WhatsApp. In fact, I've got to tell you, isn't it now that we need to start communicating more with our customers with WhatsApp? We communicate with everyone else in WhatsApp. I still had some dealer principals. Oh no, I don't want my salespeople communicating to a customer that way. But that's kind of where the world's going, isn't it, Stuart?
yeah. I'm thinking of some of the clients that we work with who have standalone sort of CSEs or call centers, for want of a better word. Um, I'm thinking of one in particular, and they have a company phone that it's on a rota, and they're available up until 10 o'clock at night. And that's for live chat on an
Mm.
email, but also they advertise a WhatsApp number. And so, yeah, they engage through WhatsApp. We talk about this in training. Communicate with the customer where they want to be met.
Yeah. Earn the right to get to the next stage.
Correct. So if that
Yeah.
starts on an email or a text message or a WhatsApp, that's absolutely fine with me. If I'm engaging with a customer, that's brilliant. I'll take it.
Mm.
I get asked, what do you do? Because you said if customers' numbers one, two, three, four, five,
Yeah.
six,
Yep.
seven.
Or a false number or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So if a customer emails but attaches a number, and it's normally management training, we get asked, what do you do?
Mm.
And my take on it is there's no right or wrong answer. But I mention this because I trained a chap, actually a Bentley dealership, but as lovely as that brand is, it could be any brand. And I really liked his approach. He said if a customer inquires through email and attaches their number, in the first instance, I will reply by email because I respect the fact that that's how they've reached out to me. But at the end of the email, um, and we train a positive next action,
Hmm.
a PNA, where we own the inquiry. He does a brilliant positive next action, which says, I will reach out to you shortly on the phone number that you supplied. I
Wow.
like that. So
Yeah.
he's
Love
replying
it.
by email because it came in on email, not just. And so managers say what? So you wouldn't just pick up the phone and call them. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's not for me to say. And I guess the content of the email would probably dictate, using some common sense, what you did. But I thought his approach is almost, if you want a go-to, what's
Yeah.
right, what's wrong, you can't go wrong with that. Meet the customer where they want to be met, and I will reach out to you shortly on the call on the phone number that you've supplied to see how I can be of further help or to see what further questions you may have that I could answer.
So many times of what we do, we're in dealerships and we see a lot of these digital inquiry tracks and what ends up in a sale and what doesn't.
Yeah,
Okay. And through our partners, CarWow, we have lots of data where we see exactly what works and what doesn't work. And where salespeople think, CarWow, waste of time and how it's dealt with in the wrong way. So you see lots of stuff. And too many times, one thing I would say is you've got to answer and acknowledge what every customer asks on that first inquiry.
yeah.
Too many times we see a customer will ask variations of, is the used car still available? If so, what's the best deal you can do? And so many times salespeople just say, yeah, car is available and ignore the deal bit.
Car is
And
available. Call me on.
yeah, there's variations that car's available. Give me a call if you have any other questions. And they think if they just ignore that bit about best price, because they know, oh, that might be a bit tricky. Okay. But
Go away.
but if you ignore a customer in a physical environment, in a dealership, the customer's going to felt ignored. Don't we have to acknowledge everything a customer asks all the time? Doesn't mean we need to give the best price, but we need to acknowledge they're looking for the best price. So the
Yeah,
little things like, hey, the best price is always going to be the best balance to change. So what we need to do is get the details about the car you're looking to trade in, just get that best balance to change and monthly payments.
yeah,
Hey, what's the best phone number to contact you on? So you get some details on your car. It's a
yeah.
good reason why we go from that digital inquiry, that phone call.
Yeah, and if on the email you sense or you can read, excuse me, some resistance, let's say, for example, the customer emails and asks a question and even states, please, please only communicate through email. Let's say the
Mhm.
customer, let's go
Yep.
quite extreme. How do you get that person onto the telephone? Because there's clearly a
Yep.
reason, and it could be for one of the ones I've mentioned before. Maybe the harder hearing.
They
Um,
work nights. They don't
it
want to be
could
woke
be.
in the middle of the day.
Here's what I really like. We're going to ask some questions of our own because that's how we get a conversation right. The customers ask us questions. We see this on, I see this all the time actually. Customer asks a question, whether this is on the telephone or on email. They answer the question and then say, if you need anything else, let me know. That's not a positive next action. That's
No.
not us
No.
staying in control, right, of this inquiry. We need to ask some questions of our own to earn us the right to continue that conversation. So here's the best way I've seen it handled. Um, we will answer the questions on email. We will ask some questions of our own. For example, have you got a vehicle you might consider part exchanging? And then say this, please let me know by response. Alternatively, if you would like to speak to me on the telephone, you can call me at your convenience on this number. And of course, it would be great to meet in person at any time to have a coffee and a chat. So what you've said there is, I'm happy to talk to you where you want me to meet you on email. But if you'd like to speak to me at your convenience on the telephone, you can reach me directly on this number. So you're inviting the customer to pick up the phone and call you without putting the pressure on that that's what they must do if they want to get any help.
Mm. Again, can I add to that? I like that approach, but I would just add to it, assume they've got a trade in. Not may you might have a car you're
Yeah,
considering trade in. Okay. What car you're looking to trade in. That assumptiveness helps there. I'm just fearful that a customer might say, no, 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 leave that out. And they spring the trade in on us right at the end there.
yeah, good point.
So something else I want to go off and track. I'll get your views on this. Getting my number by default. Now, what I mean by that is more and more dealerships, I think the vast majority of dealerships have caller display nowadays,
Mm.
where they know my phone number is 07949 If someone just takes that and calls me back on that without getting permission, I personally feel like they've got it almost by default. Now, that might be my age. I just love a simple thing like, hey, Mr. Customer, I notice here the number you're calling on is finishing on 556. Is that the best number to get you on?
Yeah,
Because you know what? So many times people say, oh, no, that's my work number. Don't call that one. Because do people want you to call them back at work? Okay. No, I think we've got to do that. Please don't write down the number from caller display and just put it in directly there. Just let them know that, hey, is that the best number to contact you on if a customer has phoned? So
yeah,
I know we're jumping around there, but I see that happening all the time.
yeah. No, that's definitely best practice. Just ask permission. And
Now,
then if they say, yeah, that's the best number, they've invited us to use that number to call them back on as well, haven't they? So,
okay, so listen, back to best price. It's that digital inquiry, best price, best price, best price. I know we want to try and get from a digital inquiry to a phone call to try and make an appointment. If they're a long way away, listen, we need to get into remote selling. We need to get into remote selling. But something I hear all the time that salespeople are missing, it's that trial close question when they find out that someone's calling from Edinburgh and they're down in Plymouth. Okay.
mm,
We've got to get into the, hey, Mr. Customer, I'd hate to think you drive the car, drive all the way from Edinburgh to Plymouth. You get here and the car's secured. I just wouldn't want to do that to you. Can I ask you, even get the figures right based on your description? Okay, this is all over the phone. Okay, would you be in a position to secure that car with £500 on either credit or debit card? It's that if I could, would you? So
mm,
many times I hear salespeople go, oh, you're calling from Edinburgh. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you through a link to the Appraisee app. Okay, take some photographs of your car and we'll give you a price. But we've missed that whole commitment bit with that distant sale. Uh,
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was training last week, and at the end of the course, a few of the delegates stayed and opened up the laptops to see what they'd missed throughout the day, and I wanted to catch up on. And we've been talking about email, and um, Kieran said, "Help me with this one." And we'd got an inquiry that was very blunt, very
mhm.
blunt. This is my car with a very brief description. I'm interested in your car. What's going to be the best price to trade? But using less words than that, it couldn't have been more red or assertive if you tried.
Yep.
Um, and I said, Kieran, I said, try this approach. Um, because we train assertiveness needs to be met with assertiveness.
Mhm.
And if that's the approach he wants to take, then I think those types of customer enjoy a very direct approach back.
So when you say red, sure, he's like the lion customer,
Yeah,
direct to the point. Okay. And you have to be direct to the point to that customer, haven't you?
absolutely. So this particular inquiry was blunt. I'm interested in this car. This is mine. What's the best price to change? And Kieran's response using assertiveness was, if I understand correctly, I need to find the market value of your car to establish the balance to change, and then you'll be in a position to leave me a £500 reservation fee by credit or debit card. Is that correct? Hit send, and a moment later the response was yes.
Commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's exactly what we're talking about. He got
And
that.
he's done the deal. Listen, I hope the
Yeah,
punchline is he's got the deal.
he absolutely did. Yeah, no, we were there till quite late. There was a little bit of coming and going, but he did. He got the reservation fee off that chap.
Hey, there's another one I really want you to tell the listeners about. And I really do like this approach when people are pushing for best price, best price. And it's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And number one, I'd always train what Elise Kephart and no, my apologies. I think this comes from Jennifer Suzuki. One of the two. It's on the podcast where they turn around and I think it's Jennifer Suzuki. She said, Simon, when someone says best price and you haven't got that telephone conversation, you want to try and get to the next stage. Think about the options you got. Option number one, you say, that is the best price. That's it. There's a fear that you shut the door and you don't hear from that customer ever again. Option two, you turn around and say, well, the car's up for 39,995. What were you hoping to pay for it? Ludicrous, because the customer's going to kick you where it hurts and give
Mm.
you a really low price. Option three, you turn around and say, hey, the car's up for 39,995. I'll do it for 39,800. Give them a price. A price is never going to be good enough, and that's where it starts from. Okay. Option four, and this is what lots of salespeople do. If you really want the best price, call me.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they actually phone? Maybe not. And we think they're that waster you're talking about before.
Mm.
Or what Jennifer Suzuki will do is, hey, keeping the figures right is the easiest part of my job. Okay. And she'll say why? Because in the internet world, if we're not on the front page of Auto Trader, Car Zone, we just don't get the inquiry. Now, having said that, there might be a little bit of room to move. There might be a gesture. Realistically, what we hope to pay for that? What, 39,900, 39,850, something like that. When she first said that, Stuart, I went, oh no, I hate that. I wouldn't do that. She said, no, no, hold on for a second. The customers will come back and say, no, I wouldn't want to pay more than 38,000. She'll then come back and say, hey, if we could agree 38,000, we're going to require £1,000 on either credit or debit card. Now, I'm not allowed to take that online. What's the best phone number to contact you on to secure that car? You'll always get a phone number. And then she'll say on the phone, hey, what's about that car? Put it on your shopping list. What's about that car caught your attention? Hey, thank you very much for the inquiry of that 38,000. I'm having a look here online. It's the lowest price car in the country. So that price is just not going to be feasible. How flexible. And I love that. But you mentioned another approach that you're liking and getting good results from at the moment. Can you run through that one?
Yeah, so we training a team of CSEs, and their job is to answer all inquiries,
CSCs, for people who might not know, CSCs are,
contact
sorry,
customer service executive. Do you know, you've put
thank
me on the
you.
spot. I have no idea. I just know
Sorry,
their names.
CSCs.
Um,
Okay.
So their job is to turn an inquiry into an appointment. And we've extended that a little bit more very, very successfully. Is also now to get a reservation fee, not deposit. I'm sure we talked about that on another podcast. But of course, they're getting the what's your best price? And historically, they were saying, oh, I don't get involved in the pricing. I'm just a CSE. You'll need to speak to a sales exec. Just doing them a little bit of a disservice, but it's also inferring there might be a deal,
Yeah.
might be a discount. So now they're using, as it turns out, the Jennifer Suzuki to begin with,
Hmm.
which is, before we go to market, we make sure that we're very competitively priced. However, experience has taught me that when the management team get to meet our customers, they can use a little bit of discretion. And sometimes they find a gesture of goodwill, a little something as a thank you for your business. All I need to do is make the appointment to give you the opportunity to have that conversation with a manager. Let's see what extra special something they could do for you. So we're basically saying, there'll be a little bit of something to sweeten the deal, but we're not saying this is going to be even hundreds, let alone thousands of pounds. The management team use a little discretion, and I'm sure they'll find a gesture of goodwill as a thank you for your business or to win your business.
Okay, Stuart, there's some good ideas there. Is there any other way that a salesperson might be able to deal with a customer who's really pushing, no, on best price, best price, best price? What else could they try?
Yeah, so if you're at that point where we've really tried, and failed feels like the strong word, but we haven't got the conclusion that we would like. Um, we picked this up actually recently. We talk about being experts in R&D, don't we? And you say,
Mm.
what does that mean? And it's research and development. For us, it's rob and duplicate. The huge advantage we have is the amount of businesses
You
and different
see,
franchises and the amount of sales execs. We are exposed to so much best practice and so much less than good practice. And obviously, one of our jobs is to share the best ideas. I love this that I read recently, and it was with an inquiry. What's your best price? They tried the pod exchange. They tried the best price. Well, no price is going to be good enough unless that's the right car for you. And it finalized in this, or ended in this: the final price is determined at the point of purchase. We can discuss this on an appointment. So the final price is determined at the point of purchase. We can discuss this on an appointment. I love that.
yeah,
I think it's sort of inferring there's going to be a deal without saying there's going to be a deal,
yeah,
but it's a very, very polite, business-like way of saying, listen, the best price is the amount of money that you pay when you've got your credit card out, which is what we hear people say,
yeah.
unfortunately. This is a much more professional way of saying it.
Say that one again for me. So the final price?
The final price is determined at the point of purchase. We can discuss this at an appointment.
Yeah, like it. Really do
Mm,
like it.
mm.
Hey, listen, guys, they're just some ideas on best price with the digital inquiry. Last thing I want to leave is get to the digital inquiry as quick as you can. There's all these systems out there with rapid RTCs and all that, all great, great systems there. So we know we need to get to the customer within that 10 minutes, but make sure they're personalized responses and they're just not click, click, click and send it out there to stop the clock ticking that I hear. We've got to make sure those responses are personalized and earn the right to get to the next stage on it. Anything else you want to leave the listeners with, Stuart?
Put me on the spot there. No, I just want to reinforce what you said. It's so commonplace that the email inquiry is to third rate inquiry. It's the last thing that we get to. And I understand in a business, if there's a live customer in the showroom, we've got to go and speak to them. But please, everyone listening, accept the fact that anyone who inquires with you through any channel, they're buying a car.
Yeah, that's true. Stuart, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks as always. Cheers, Simon.
See you next time. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bokert through LinkedIn. Thank you.